So I contended in my introduction that this new SD Radar Futures workspace layout, along with the new high time frame link feature, lead to faster and more efficient trade finding. To that end, and also demonstrate that, let me just open another of the new workspaces, at this time for swing trading, because not everybody day trades, many people swing trade. So let me just show you that. So let me just open that swing trading workspace. Now, those of you who know me well also know that I am an incorrigible school teacher, and everything I do has a cunning educational purpose behind it. And the purpose is this. First, I wanted to show you what the new collection of workspaces looks like. When you unzip that folder or that file that contains the workspaces, it'll arrive in into a folder called SD Radar Workspaces, this case for TradeStation 10. There's also one for TradeStation 9.5 for December 2025. And there's the usual folders. This has not changed. There's 3 folders in here. SD Radar Workspaces black and white, depending on your preference. So everything I make here, I have to do it twice because I have to make 2 of them. Then there are some extras where some old ones from the past that are still available for those who want to use them. And then there's the demo workspace. When you install SD Zones on a new computer, it's a good idea to open that one just to verify that everything is working. Then there's the SD Zones activation, which is the one that brand new subscribers run just to enter their activation code and link their new subscription to their TradeStation account. But we want to dig into these SD Radar folders here, and let's just dig into the black one because now you've seen the white. And in there you'll see that in addition to the traditional stocks and options, which are still there and still contains the 4 workspaces that it did in the past, we now have broken the futures workspaces into 2 different folders. One I call the legacy layout. I know that sounds a little derogatory. That's not meant that way. It's just that this is the classic layout that we've had for many years, and all of the workspaces you're familiar with are in here still. The day and the swing and the Excel swing. There's a variant I released earlier this year that has 4 different high time frame charts instead of just 2, and that's this one here. And there are the variants that have the use high time frame overlay in the entry chart. And then there's the ones for big high quad IHD screens with 6 charts, which I talked about briefly. Actually, I showed it briefly before. So those are the legacy layouts, but the new ones are in what I call the high time frame link layout folder. Doesn't that roll off the tongue, that name? So futures high time frame link layout is what we're using here, and you'll see how the names all say black link, black link, black link, just like this one is a white link. That's just so you can distinguish it from the other ones from the futures day that are not the new layout. So just have to have some kind of a name to distinguish them, and I realize that doesn't make for an easy reading of their names, but you'll get used to it pretty quickly. So the futures day, the black link futures day, is the same as this white futures day we have up here, so that's easy enough. We are instead now going to open the futures swing trading workspace, where there have been some changes. So let me just open that, and there will be another little surprise for you here when I open that. Oopsie daisy. More sausage making coming here. So you remember with high time frame link that we had to enable a run command, and we had to sign off on that letter from the lawyers to say it is okay to use the run command feature for high time frame link without confirmation. Remember that? Well, when you save a workspace with that, every time you open the workspace, the lawyers will quickly come in with this warning and say, oh, things are going on. High time frame link has a run command enabled. It doesn't even say that, but it's configured to allow automated execution or to run macros. And are you sure you want to enable that? So unfortunately, you will have to see this every time you open one of the new workspaces. I promise you, you will get used to it, but it is a nuisance that TradeStation puts on us just to make sure that you are safe from the evil peoples of this world, and so that they do not have any liability in case anything does go wrong ever. All right. Well, what you have to do is you just say open these windows with items enabled. Again, I apologize. I wish I could avoid this. If TradeStation ever comes out with a better feature, a better way for me to implement that, so that avoids this, I promise you I'll have that implemented in a blink of an eye. But for now, this is what you have to do. So we say open windows with items enabled, and that will then finally open high time frame link in this high time frame chart, which is what triggered it. Now, if you did not have this enabled in here, if that was turned off, you wouldn't get that error. All right, I hope that makes sense, as unfortunate as it is. Now that we got the lawyers out of the way, and I apologize to any viewers that happen to be lawyers, but now we got that out of the way, here we have then the new SD Radar Futures Swing Workspace. And guess what? What a surprise. Other than the fact that we have a black background here, we had a white background in the day trading workspace we looked at before. They look remarkably similar. We have a primary entry chart here, and we have 5 other entry charts down here, all with different intervals. The default we use for the primary here is 15, and then we have 20, 30, 60, 120, and 240. And then, of course, we have the 2 high time frame charts over here, of which this one is linked naturally to this and is automatically updated, and this one down here is a daily, because you always want to pay attention to that daily chart. Now, over here in the radar screen, you will notice that we expanded that list of intervals that we're looking for. In the old swing workspace, we scanned for 15, 20, 30, and 60 minutes, but I decided, since we now can, we have the room for it, 6 different charts, and we have an easy linking of the entry chart, the primary entry chart, to the high time frame chart. Why not expand this? So we're digging a little bit deeper into the Excel swing territory, which I call it the higher swing intervals. So we have 120 and 240 as well. Some people might say, why not 180? We're kind of skipping over one here, but 240 is very common interval that many people like to look at without necessarily wanting to go to the really high time frame Excel swing ones. So I think this made sense. 240, 120, 60, 30, 20, and 15. And that's what we ended up doing. If you want to change anything in this radar screen, you can obviously do so. You can change these 240 minute to 180 minute if you prefer that instead. If there are some markets you don't trade, you just remove them in here. If there are other markets you want to add, you just add those lines. If there are other intervals you want to add, you can do so. Yes, we only have 6 charts, but you could have more intervals in here that you scan for, because when you click them, they will show up in this primary entry chart over here. But just to show you real briefly, to change the 240 to 180, if that's what you want to do, you have to right click here and say time frame, and since 180 is not shown, you would have to go into customize for this one here, and you would change it to 180, right, like that. Now you could do this for multiple at the same time. You could click this, then control click this and this and this and this and so forth, all through the whole thing. You go into all of them, you right click one of them, you go to time frame, you say customize, you say selected symbols, and there you go and change them to 180. I'm not going to do that now because I'll leave it at 240, and I am going to change this one back up here, or this one up here, back to 240 the way we had before. So let me just do that. But I'm just going to show this, or just showing you this, so that you understand it's not a big deal to change this. Similarly, when you open this on your particular computer with your particular monitor, it is very likely that depending on the window scaling factor of your particular monitor, that you will have to adjust this workspace a little bit. You may have to make these columns a little bit wider, some of them maybe even a little bit taller. So the radar screen in particular doesn't scale very well when you go to a larger monitor. This was all designed for 100% scaling factor. But if you have higher scaling factors, you will want to change these and tweak. And then once you've changed it, you just click workspace, save workspace, and it will look like that next time you open it. If you make a mistake when you change the workspace, or if something gets messed up along the way and you've saved it and you want to get back to the way it looked before, no big deal. You just go to the SD Zones membership page and download the SD Radar workspaces again. That's all. All right, let's see if we can find some swing trades. Now, we'll use this both to show how the new SD Zones release and the new workspaces work, but also as a general trade finding lesson. So pay attention. I also want to point out that this is now Friday evening. Markets are closed. They won't open again until Sunday night. And even then, they'll be opening into the Christmas week. We just had the last full trading week of the year. So this may not be the most ideal time to enter swing trades, but you never know. We could come across a nugget of gold, and if so, I'll point it out to you. So here we go. As always with SD Zones and the SD Radar workspaces, trade finding starts over here in RadarScreen. We want to let TradeStation do the hard work for us of analyzing through all these different markets and all these different time frames and find out where are the zones that are relatively close to current price, which might be potential trade candidates, and point them out to us. That is the essence of what this tool was designed to do. Just to remind you, in RadarScreen, each symbol row is a hidden chart with SD Zones running in it. It plots what is the nearest demand zone, what is the nearest supply zone, if there is one, there isn't one in this case, and how close is it to current price as an estimated hours and minutes away, right? So that's what we call proximity. And then you'll see some, let's look at this, for instance, this 120-minute chart actually has a demand. The only thing that it finds nearest is a demand zone all the way down at 52.33. That's 153 hours away. Okay, that may not be that interesting for us. We don't want to wait that long, but we are looking for something that's a little closer. Anything that is close enough will get a blue highlight. That's what we call a proximity alert, and that means it's within the alert proximity threshold that we selected. Who selected it? Well, I selected it, but you can change it. Let me show you how. Let me show you the easiest way to change that alert proximity. If you click any of this demand or supply cells in the entire radar screen, you will open a SD Zones settings panel for that particular row. So let's just click this one here, and you'll see they get that little pop-up menu, and down there's a settings, and that settings opens the settings panel for that particular symbol row, that particular SD Zones. You see right here, it's the NASDAQ 120, NASDAQ 120 in RadarScreen. So each of them have their own settings panel, but each of them can also apply changes to everybody else. So here's how it works. Under proximity, show distance to nearest zone as hours and minutes. That's what we have over here in the proximity column. And right now it shows proximity in RadarScreen and scanner. It does not show them in charts. So that's why you're not seeing proximity displayed over here. You're only seeing the nearest demand zone, the nearest supply zone. So right now it is set to 2 hours and 0 minutes. That's just TradeStation format for time. Hours, hours, minutes, minutes. And that means anything that is within 2 hours will be highlighted. So you see up here, there's one that's an hour and 3 minutes away. That one gets highlighted in blue. There's also one here that's 2 hours and 54 minutes away. That one is not highlighted because it's not within 2 hours. And obviously the ones that are 134 or 153 hours away are also not highlighted. So that's how you control how many alerts do you want in here. And if you want to widen the net and see more, well, you can widen this one and see you want to include more. So let's say we want to change this to 4 hours, and what we'll do is this. We'll change 0400 military time here, and what that will do is it will apply it to not just this particular row, but it will apply it to all charts. It doesn't really matter because the charts do not have proximity enabled, but it will also apply it to all radar screen rows in here, so that all of these will update, and the ones that are then within 4 hours but aren't showing right now because they are more than 2 hours away, they will suddenly become blue. It's important to know that you can control these a little bit. If you wanted to only apply this to the row that you have open and the chart you have open, you can disable these, and it will apply just to that one row or just that one chart. But normally we leave these checked because we want to apply to all of them. That's the whole point with having this settings panel, is to be able to apply changes to a number of different settings, a number of different charts and radar screen rows at the same time. So let's click Apply Updated Settings. And boom, you'll see many more are now blue than were before. Whether that's too many, that's of course your choice, the pattern, depending on how much time you have, but that's how it works. For the purposes of this lesson, I was perfectly happy with the 2 hours. I just want to reset that back to what it was before. Let me just click this cell again, or any cell, but let me just click this cell again, go to Settings. And what I can do is I can say reset all to input values. That means it will all revert to essentially Thomas's settings, or whichever settings were set with the TradeStation inputs for each of these rows and each of these charts. And that will set us back to 2 hours, and everything else we changed would also be reset at the same time. With that little lesson in settings panel and how to control radar screen settings, let's dig into the first of these blue highlighted symbols down here. So because in the Dow 60-minute, there's claimed to be a demand zone that is only an hour away, a little below current price. So we'll just click this, boom, and that will take us to a Dow 60-minute chart. All right. Now, the first thing you'll notice is there was a glorious zone down here that worked very, very well earlier. That's actually one we know already, because if you look at the 30-minute chart, does that look familiar? That's the one we talked about earlier. See, that's the one that worked so very, very well last night, and which we talked about earlier in this video, before it worked so well, I should add. But that's not the zone that's actually highlighted here. The zone that's highlighted here is the one at 48,374, this one here. And if we do look, that one does not show up in any of the other charts here. So that's already a little bit of a dicey sign. You know, it would have been great if it's shown up in any of the other intervals, but it doesn't. And the reason is it's not the prettiest zone in the world, but it's okay. You know, if SD Zones finds it with this strict preset, that means it's at least tradable. The thing that really matters here is it does it align with the high time frame chart? For that, we need to look over here. But wait a second, it's red. So we click it. So we need to get a 5-hour chart here, a 300-minute chart. And what that shows us is price is actually moving up. So preferred trade direction is actually up. So trading a demand zone is legit in this case. But we've gotten pretty close. I mean, look, we've been this far up here, close up here, you know, which was actually just at the low of this supply zone up here where we were a couple of times, and which worked so very, very well a couple of times. So there is a risk that now is already heading lower again, and that lowers the probability of this particular zone. Combine this with the fact that we do have a downtrend in general. This is not the highest probability setup, and I'm going to pass on this one. The way to pass on it is this. You can right click here and say invalidate this zone. That just means it's not tradeworthy, it's not something I want. It will become invalidated, the same as down here. You see dash dot dot, that means it's taken out of the equation, and it's something that will still show on the chart, so you know it's there and you know to take profit if you are in a trade, but it's not something that will show up in RadarScreen anymore. See how it disappeared over here? And that's how you use that invalidate feature. In case you change your mind and want to bring it back, you can right click here and click restore. You can also click over here. Here it's left click, over here is right click. That's just unfortunately what TradeStation forces us to do. But if I left click here, I can say restore it, and that will bring it back. See, that will bring it back right here. And I can also invalidate it over here. So whether I do it over here on the chart makes no difference. It's the same thing. It'll be applied in both places. But basically, I've just said this one I don't want. Okay, this should normally take you somewhere between 1 second and 3 seconds to look at this, say, okay, there's a zone. Oh, it doesn't align over here. On to the next one. So let's go on to the next one. We have an oil 20-minute zone down here, demand zone. Let's click that, see what it looks like. Now, that oil demand zone at 56 is not this one down here. This one is already used up. That's the one that worked several times. Not so fantastically. It worked for maybe 2 to 1 several times for a couple of hours, but that one is all chewed up right now. We're talking about the one down here. And the first thing we do is obviously we click over here because we do want to see a matching high time frame chart. And that matching high time frame chart in this case here will be a 120. There we go. And that one shows, oh, we just came into a supply zone and we started moving lower, even though not dramatically. So we can forget all about this. Okay, we do not want to trade a demand zone when price is in a supply zone right now. Even though in order to get down here, it will actually have to come down. Still, that's not really a particularly great trade. Now, there is another aspect to this. See, this one sits at 56, and at 56 we actually have the nearest demand zone. So wait a second. You've probably heard about what I call a counter trend trade. If you have a demand zone that sits inside, if you have an entry zone, I mean, that sits inside a high time frame zone, then that can actually be a counter trend trade. That could be one that's actually okay, regardless of current direction in price. But for that to work, for that to be legit, according to my rules, this particular zone has to be of what's called entry quality. So it has to be one where if I right click here and change the preset on this one to entry zones medium, which is the lowest level of entry quality I have. I mean, I have, you know, different levels, but the lowest level of entry quality, entry zones medium, if I change that, I'll see that, sure, yes, there is actually an entry quality zone here originally. That was entry quality long time ago, but it is so beat up and used up now. It's incredible. It's worked that many times, but surely it is no longer legit. It is no longer, see how it's dashed dot. It has become invalidated. It's not something that we would dare trade an entry zone sitting right there, which is this one right here, that after this has been chewed up so many times. Otherwise, the logic is if this had been all pure and fresh and of entry quality, when we come down here, we would trust that this zone had enough oomph in it to turn price around, and we would be willing to trade this with a smaller risk in a smaller zone inside that high time frame zone. But that is not what this setup is. It doesn't work that way. So what we'll do is we'll invalidate this one as well. Say done with that one. See it disappears from down here. We will also remember to restore this particular one. See change on this chart only. Reset to input values. So we're showing the high time frame zones here again. I hope that made sense. If any of this is new to you, watch some of the older training videos, particularly the ones from May. They cover this elaborately, how you use these features I just talked about here. Let us move on to the next zone then. There is another oil zone, this time a 30-minute supply zone. So we'll click that. We'll get to the 30-minute. And that one sits above current price, so we have to scroll down a little bit. Oh, there it is. Let me just drag the chart drag down the chart a little bit, and I can hit the control key and left click, and that will scroll the chart back to where the zone is. See that? And that's a very nifty feature. Let me just repeat that. If you're not familiar with it, to scroll back to where a zone is on a chart, you hold on your control key and you left click any of the zone lines, and that will scroll immediately back to that. Nifty, very nifty feature. Now, that zone right here, that's a decent enough zone, decent leg in, decent leg out. We do have a problem with it, that even if everything else aligns, we would have to place our stop here, right below this other supply zone. Admittedly, that supply zone is not fresh, but the last place in the world you want to be forced to buy, and that's what a buy stop is, right? That it means that your short trade was not working, and now you're buying it back. So the last place in the world I want to be forced to buy back is right into a supply zone. You never want to buy right into supply zone. So for that reason alone, I could not trade this. Let's just look at real briefly what the high time frame chart looks at as well. I'm kind of getting a little bit tired of updating this all the time, so let me just show you. If we enable the automatic high time frame update like this, it will update it. to a 180, and let me just remember to disable this so we don't have any incidents happening here. And in this case, it does actually show that direction is down, but this zone sits just above this. It sits up here. So if we break through this, that signal will not be there anymore. We will actually be in an up signal at that time. So for so many reasons, this is not something we can trade. So we just click this one, you say invalidate, done with that. On to the next one. The next one is in natural gas at 20-minute. Look like we have two different ones in natural gas here. Both are supply zones. One is at 20-minute and another is a little bit lower at 30-minute. Let me just click the first one here. And now this one updates automatically. That's nice. Supply zone up here, very beautiful zone. I would consider trading this zone on its own, but it does not align with direction because direction right now is up. So it says we can't trade this. So if you're trading by the book, according to my rules, you can't trade this one. Boy, that's a beautiful zone. That's a very appealing zone. We'll invalidate this one and move on. The 30-minute, again, this one updates automatically now. Again, two supply zones, very, very tall one. That would be a lot of risk if you were to trade that entering here with a stop up here. So I couldn't trade that for that reason. I also couldn't trade it because price just touched into this demand zone down here and is moving higher. So this chart is showing that this zone is doing exactly what it's meant to do. Probably price will want to come all the way back up here. So these zones would not be high probability trades. We'll cancel those as well. Off it goes. Off it goes. By the way, that one up here is probably the same we looked at before on the 20-minute chart. But either way, we'll just take it out of contention, and we're done with that. There's also a 60-minute. Oh wait, that may be the same one. That's actually the same one we looked at before. But in this case, because we're on a 60-minute, we're now at a 300-minute natural gas high time frame chart, which says direction is down. See, direction is down, but I just want to show you something. Yes, direction is down, but boy, we're kind of in empty space here, where the last signal we got was way up here. It would have been nice to get some more signals that direction is down. But, I mean, I'm not ruling out that this could work, and if it does break through these and break lower, we have a gap which probably want to be filled. So for that reason, this supply zone may be a candidate. So I'm going to leave it there, but it's not a high probability candidate for me because look, I mean, this is such a wide gap. I want something where I can better gauge where is the nearest demand. There could be demand in here that I'm not seeing. There could be a bunch of buy orders I'm not seeing in here. So that's a little bit too much on the wild side for me, but may not be for all. And I will say again, the fact that we've been there and the fact that we may break down this could be one of those where if you have the guts to take this one, you could get a really big, nice trade winning on this one. It just may not be the highest probability. I'll leave it there, not invalidated for that reason. Let's scroll down. There's nothing else here until we come down to the hourly Canadian chart here, Canadian dollar. And let's click at that one. And we found it. We found the gold nugget here. I tell you guys. So this is one where this supply zone here, that's a nice supply zone. Where else do you see that? Where else do you see that? Look, is also over here on the 120. I talked about that before. If this shows up on multiple different intervals, that is a good sign. That's a sign. It's not exactly the same 840 or 820, but it is the same zone, and that's a good sign. That means there's a higher probability of it working when it is confirmed on multiple different intervals. But here's the other thing that makes this a nugget, the one we're looking for. Look where we have clearly a downtrending chart here that's breaking lower. There's a lot of distance down here. It's kind of a little bit of a pocket of nothing here. Lots of room down here. If it hadn't been for the fact that this was a Christmas week we're coming into and the low liquidity that comes with that, all of that, I would say this was a nice setup. We just break below this. If price comes back up here, it'll be a little bit of a retest of that breakdown, and there's always room down to here. So and that may even break. Coming all the way down to these down here. So this to me is a good setup. It's not a 5-star setup, but it is a 4-star setup in my book. So we found the nugget. And see, it doesn't take that long. And what you're finding, and it certainly doesn't take like long when you don't have to explain along the way what you're doing. And then you end up with really good quality setups. Whether it works, of course, I don't know, but I'll be watching this one, and we'll see what happens with it after the markets open next week. Again, personally, I will not be trading because it's Christmas, but this is the kind of setup you're looking for. There's a few more down in Swiss franc, but I think we've done enough now. So enough with the trading lessons here, or the trade finding lessons here. I hope that was useful, and we'll move on to talk about the rest of what's new in the new SD Zones release for December.